Welcome back to another Daishinfinity video. In this video, we're going to prove the derivative formula for the quotient rule, stating that the quotient of the two functions f and g is the same thing as taking the derivative of f and multiplying it by the normal function g and subtracting it by f times g prime and all divided by g of x squared. So let's go and dive right in. Now, if we talk about the function f of x and the function g of x, they are two different functions, so they all have different types of different types of worlds if we talk about mathematical functions. Now, we can also express this quotient as a multiplication of those two, as a factor of 2, so we can write it as f of x times g of x 1 over g of x. Okay, and now what is 1 over g of x? We have an exponent rule that states that a to the power of minus n is the same thing as 1 over a to the n. So we can state that from this information we can say f of x times bracket g of x to the negative 1 power. Now we'll take this multiplication and set g of x, let's say, as another function I of x or something, then we'll get the normal product rule for the derivative, stating that f of x times, let's say, f2 of x. So let's just say I have two functions and we take the derivative. Then it's just f1 prime times f2 plus f1 f2 prime. Okay, so in other words, if you have the uv rule, so u times v prime is the same thing as u prime v plus u v prime. So if we have the functions f of x and the g of x, which is in brackets to the negative 1 power, and we all put it in prime, we have to take the derivative of the first one multiplied by the second one. So let's do that first. Derivative of the first one multiplied by the second one, and then plus. Now take the normal function f of x and multiply by the derivative of g of x to the negative 1 power. Before we do it, we're going to talk about how it works. So what is the derivative of g of x to the negative 1 power? Now the derivative of g of x to the negative 1 power, if we treat g of x first of all as a function, then we have a function to an exponent, and every time we have a function to an exponent, we use something that is using another rule. Okay, it's called the chain rule. So we have to use a chain rule, stating that if I have a function f of g of x, that's a chain rule, then we take the f prime of g of x and multiply by g prime of x. So if we let g of x to the negative 1 power, just let it just be j of x. Okay, so the j of x is g of x to the negative 1 power. And let's let g of x equal to j of x. So we will have let's just equal it to some variable n. So it will be n to the negative 1, and we'll let this variable n and the negative 1 be equal to j of x, j of m, I'm sorry. Now what was n? N was the same thing as g of x, so we'll have j of g of x, and we're going to take that to the prime, so it will be j, I'm sorry, I almost wrote f, j prime of g of x times g of x prime. So we have to take in consideration of this rule. So if we take the derivative of this g of x to the negative 1. We have to put the negative 1 in the front, minus 1 that one, and multiply it by the derivative of the function. So we'll get minus g of x to the negative 2 power times g prime of x. This is the real answer for the derivative of this specific expression. So we're just going to plug it right in here, since we have started doing this one. So we'll just do minus g of x to the negative 2 power times g prime of x. Now what will this result to? Okay, so we'll just write this as f of x times 1 over g of x, and this we will write it in different terms. So we'll write all of them as a fraction again. So we'll get f prime of x times 1 over g of x. Now we had the minus, so we'll just minus f of x times 1 over g of x squared times g prime of x. Now any number a times 1 over b is the same thing as a over b, since a is equal to a over 1 and 1 over b, and we have a times 1 over 1 times b, so a over b. You see, this rule holds. I hope you know this from primary school or something, and that's why we are going to use this rule to continue simplifying everything to a specific level. So f prime of x over g prime of x minus f of x times g prime of x over g of x squared. Now how are we going to simplify this? We are going to simplify it by doing the same denominator on both sides. So we'll multiply here by g of x and multiply here by g of x, so that we'll get g of x squared, and over here we also have g of x squared. So over here we'll have f prime of x g of x over g of x squared minus f of x times g prime of x over g of x squared. Now we can put the numerators together, and this will result to having f prime of x times g of x minus f of x times g prime of x all over g of x squared. So now the formula is proven. I hope you like this video. Please like and subscribe and follow for more videos like this, and we'll see us in the next Daishinfinity video. See ya.